One of the biggest problems that you're going to run into when you're doing roofing ads, particularly with meta advertising, is going to be the consistency. It's going to be how to actually keep lead quality consistent, how to reliably get qualified appointments and people who actually want to close, and not just these huge ups and downs. If you've ever done meta advertising, Facebook, Instagram ads, all these different kind of platforms, the biggest problem you're going to run into is you can get an amazing lead, somebody who's 10 out of 10, and then get 5 worthless leads in a row. It's extremely inconsistent. You're wasting your time. You're sending out your guys to worthless appointments. You're wasting your money on those leads, and it's overall just not predictable. You can't scale a system that is so unpredictable. Now, in this video, I want to cover exactly why this happens and how to fix it for your business, and how you can actually implement systems that are going to prevent this from happening in the future. The fundamental thing to understand and why this even happens in the first place is because Facebook and Instagram meta advertising does not optimize for sit downs or jobs or actually getting you a return. There is no setting in Facebook where you can say, hey, only give me qualified leads, only give me good appointments, only give me people that are likely to close, only give me a return. You can only optimize for leads. And that's the problem that most people run into, is that, as not all leads are equal, right? Some leads are incredible, some leads are crap. Right? And that's the problem that you're going to run into, is that to Facebook, all data is the same. It's ones and zeros. If it's a good lead, if it's a bad lead, it looks at it like it's the same thing. The way Facebook works, and this is something that you got to understand when you're doing these kind of advertisings, is it works with conversion events. When somebody converts into a lead, so somebody saw your ad, they reached out, they filled out the form, they became a lead, that's a conversion event. That's what Facebook looks at to determine who they're going to distribute your ads to. So for example, let's say you've been working with a marketing company for like a month and a half, or you're even doing your own ads for the last like month and a half or something. Say you've gotten like 30 leads. Facebook, to determine who they're going to distribute your ads to in the future, they're going to look at those 30 leads, the patterns amongst those 30 leads, to determine, okay, these are the people that converted. How can we get more people like that? The problem is, if half of those leads, let's say like 10 or 15 of them, were just crap, people who are unqualified, they didn't check the boxes, you're gonna go into a self-fulfilling cycle of crap. Facebook is gonna keep showing your ads to people who check those boxes, because to Facebook, those people are qualified, they converted. But see, that's the problem. They weren't genuinely qualified. They might have filled out the form, but they weren't actually people you want coming in. And that's where you're gonna have inconsistencies, where you're gonna get some great leads and some complete crap leads, because Facebook is gonna keep going after those people. You might be seeing where I'm going with this, but there's a very simple fix to this problem, and it's by fixing at its root. You should only show the qualified leads to Facebook if that's who you want to go after. Again, we're using the logic that Facebook will look at your most recent leads, your most recent conversion events, to decide who it's going to show your ads to in the future. So by using that logic, then it makes more sense to only show Facebook the qualified leads, because that's who it's going to keep perpetuating. It's going to keep going after those people. You're going to have a positive loop, right? The more leads you get, the more good leads you get, the more good feedback you give to Facebook, and the better results you get over time. And it's why, our Contractor Liberty, we have some clients that are doing 500, 600 appointments a month at scale, qualified appointments. They're maintaining their closing rates. They don't have these huge ups and downs in quality like you would have with a typical marketing company. It's because we have these systems in place to consistently keep that quality coming in reliably. So what we do, for example, is we actually collect your sales team's feedback first on the appointments, and only the people who genuinely had intent, right? People who had urgency, they had intent, they had a project that was worthwhile. We're talking like 20, 30 squares and above. It was a full roof replacement. People who had the money, they were genuinely serious. These are the people who we fire the conversion event for. These are the people that were telling Facebook, hey, that was a lead. That was somebody who, converted essentially. And when we do that, Facebook sees it like this. They showed your ads to a bunch of different people, unqualified, qualified, but it only got conversion events for people who were qualified. It only got a result for people who were qualified. And so it's going to be able to establish a pattern amongst those qualified people and go after more of those people. What you got to understand is Facebook has more than 52,000 data points per user on their platform. They hear whatever you're doing. They know your income, they know your interest, they know everything about you. So when you're able to actually give it data on who converts and who doesn't, Facebook is able to go after more people who convert and less after the people who don't. This is a pretty simple fix, but at the end of the day, 99% of the roofers that I've talked to who are working with marketing or advertising companies, they're working with complete knuckleheads. These are people who have no experience in roofing. They don't actually know how to set up scalable advertising systems that will consistently use your money profitably. A lot of times you're going to be running massive money leaks. You're running an advertising system, you're putting a bunch of water into a bucket, but those buckets have holes. And when you don't fix these holes, you're just going to waste a lot of money. At the end of the day, Facebook is an algorithm. It's a $1 trillion company. The question isn't whether Facebook works. It's whether the systems that you put in place are actually going to work for your company specifically. And that's exactly what we do. When we work with a roofer, we're actually going to sit down with you and understand exactly what you're kind of looking for, the lead quality, and exactly what you want. And that's what we'll customize a strategy to make sure that it will actually work for your company specifically. Hope that gave you some insights. God bless.